Hello, how are you? My name's Samantha and this is my very first Flosstube. I have another channel where I do crocheting and stuff, and I decided that I would have a separate channel for my stitching because I have separate Instagrams for them, so I decided to have separate YouTubes as well. I am coming to you from the middle of England. I am Scottish, but I have lived in England for 16 years now, I think. Yeah, 16 years. Oh, that went fast. I live here with my two youngest sons. My oldest son has grown up and moved out and doing adulty things now. And I have a dog who you may hear complaining in the background because I'm talking to somebody who's not her. She's perfectly fine. She just has issues with me talking to people who are not her. She's a rescue. She has personality. My stitching, let's see. Oh, before I carry on with the stitching, anything that I mention, like anything that I talk about, I will link down below. If I forget to link something, then let me know and I will go back and I will link it. I have ADHD, so sometimes I forget things. I will try my best not to though. I have notes, sort of, after a fashion. I kind of have notes. I will try and remember to follow them. Also, having ADHD means I have lots and lots of whips. So my stitching history kind of looks a bit like, I've always loved the finished products of cross stitching, but I also tend to start a lot of things. I used to do a lot of stitching when I was younger, and then I stopped for years. And I'm talking like, I used to do a lot of stitching maybe 20 odd years ago. Because yeah, I'm 43 now, so 20 odd years ago I did a lot, and then I stopped for years, and then over the last sort of 5-6 years I've picked it up again sporadically. But just recently, over the last maybe over the last 6-8 months, I've really got back into it again, and I'm really enjoying stitching. But what happened was when I went through all the stitching stuff that I've got, because I am also an impulse buyer, when I went through all the stitching stuff that I've got, it turns out I've got a lot of started projects. Relative to the amount of finished projects I have, I've got a lot of started projects. So I've got loads of whips. Most of them don't really have very much in them. I've maybe stitched them for a day or two and then moved on to something else. And that's fine, except for the fact I will never get anything finished that way. So I decided to set myself up a little rotation, because I've seen other people do this. I watch a lot of Flosstube and I have seen other people do this where they have a rotation and it works for them. So I thought I would try it. So now I have picked 6 projects. I have 4 projects that are on a weekly rotation. I have 1 project that I stitch on my bed at night time. I go to my bed maybe an hour earlier than I want to go to sleep, and I will listen to an audiobook and I will stitch. It's one of the excellent things about being single now, because I could never do that before when I lived with my ex, because reasons. But now I can, and it's fantastic. So I have my bedtime project, my 4 rotational projects, and I have a head that I started in 2018. It's only a small one as well, it's a mini. Well, you know, it's still reasonable size, but as far as heads go, it's small. I started it in 2018. I think I got it as a birthday present, and I have now decided that I'm going to finish it by the end of this year. So I did the math, and if I do 200 stitches on it a day, it will be finished before the end of the year. So that's what we're going for. So we do daily 200 stitches on that. Bedtime project is just however much I fancy doing it at night time, and then 4 rotational projects. So I will start off. I'll show you the things that I've just recently finished. I have 2 things that I've recently finished, and I'm going to show you them both because they're both from the same kind of kits. They're both from these little Trimmets kits. And these are great. I picked these up in Hobbycraft, which if you're not in the UK, they're like our main big box craft store. I think they might be our only big box craft store in the country. So it's a bit like your Joann's, Michael's type thing. And these kits come with the pre-sorted thread, which is a little bit of a mess now. They come with the little pattern. I'll show you just like a little, it comes with the little pattern with they have symbols and colours, and it's got the little key across the bottom. And you get the needle, which is still in there because I didn't use that needle. And it comes with the Ada. What I did not realise at the time is that the Ada is 11 count, which I've never stitched on before. And it's massive. It's absolutely huge. And because it's Ada, you have to stitch over one, don't you? So it's nice Ada. It's bendy, but it's also thick. But this is the little toadstool one. I find that especially in the lighter colours, you can see it a little bit here. The lighter colours especially, I find on the bigger count that my stitches don't look quite as neat. I've not ironed this yet, so maybe like giving it a little steam and a little iron might make the stitches lie a little bit flatter. But that's the last thing that I finished, was little toadstools. And the other one, I'm going to turn that one into a cushion. This is the fabric that I've got for it. It's got little toadstools on it. What is the fabric? It's a Lewis and Irene fabric. It's nice, just like plain quilting cotton. And the other one that I finished out of the same kind of thing was this, which needs ironed, I know. It's very cute, and I've just turned it into a little wall hanging. Yeah, they're nice little kits. They're easy to see, easy to read. They were really good for bedtime stitching. That was what got me into the idea of doing bedtime stitching, actually, was because I was finishing off the toadstool and I just wanted to go and lie in my bed and listen to my book and be cosy. So I took it up with me. I thought, you know what, this is quite nice. Let's do this some more. So then it became a thing. So yeah, I've done them just using the kit colours. That's all they're called for with that. I think it's the MC that they use in the kits, but I'm not definitely sure. It doesn't say, it just says threads. But it was nice threads, nice fabric, and the kits, I'm sure these were only maybe about £4, maybe, £4 or £5, something like that. They're very cheap, nice little kits. Right. Ooh. So I finished those as my bedtime projects, and I replaced them with, this is my bedtime pouch. So in here I have all my threads, my pattern, my little scissors. These are my little bedtime scissors. They're very pretty. And so this, threads inside it. This I'm just stitching in hand. I'll try and put a picture up here for you of this. And this is on 16 count, just plain white Ada. I don't normally stitch in hand, only really if it's small things. And my bedtime stitching, I'm just doing small things. So there we go. We're just on the second colour. I'm just doing this as a colour completing thing. And it is a Hearthstone. I am a World of Warcraft fan. I've been playing it for, it's the 20th anniversary this year, so I've been playing it for 20 years. So I have quite a lot of Warcraft stuff. And the Hearthstone is one of the things in the game. You press it and it takes you home. So, like, you'll see from the thing, it's got the stone and it's got home written underneath it. I'm kind of mostly sticking to the colours. I got this on Etsy. I'm going to buy this off Etsy, and it was Owl and Thread. I will link them down below. And yeah, it's a nice easy little pattern. It is big enough. I just printed it off on an A4 sheet, and the symbols and everything are all big enough on it for me stitching in bed. So yeah, that's my little Hearthstone, my bedtime stitch. Mostly I'm using the called for, but I've had a few subs. I've got an almost full set of DMC, but then I stopped getting it when I moved house, and I just haven't started it back up again. I was getting it from Lakeside Needlecrafts. Yeah, Lakeside. She does a club type thing where you get, there's a DMC one. What was the other ones that she does? She does a couple of fancy floss ones as well. But I wanted to get a full set of DMC first. And so I think I might have to start the club up again. I don't know if she'll still have my details, or if I should just buy the ones that I don't have separately. I don't know, I'll work that out later. So yes, that is my first whip, is my Hearthstone, my bedtime stitch. My head that I'm stitching on, let's say take it out the hoop. I have it in a massive hoop. This is what I'm stitching on every day. Oh, just about fits in. This is Mini Snow White and Alice. I'll put a picture up here again. And the artwork is by Jasmine Beckett Griffiths. She's Strangeling on Instagram. And yeah, it will be Alice and Snow White. And then down at the bottom, there's the little animals. Now, normally on something this size, colour completing is not really a thing. However, I'm doing this in Pattern Keeper, and when I looked, I had started off up in this corner, and when I had looked on Pattern Keeper, you know, you press the thing and it will show you how many stitches you have, and it was something ridiculous, like it was nearly 19% of the stitches were black. Because obviously there's the background, and Snow White has black hair, and there's all the black down the bottom. And then I looked again at where all these big blocks of colour are. There's only 3 colours in this so far. I'm on, see the dark blue? That's the colour that I'm on at the minute. There are so many blocky colours in this one. I've just decided to do it as colour completing. So I am, how far through this am I? I think I'm about 28. Let's have a look. Pattern Keeper is amazing. I love it. Where are we? Mini Alison Head is 29.07%. But yeah, it's just like, oh, just big massive blocks of colour. So I am colour completing like a weirdo on a head, but it's working for me. It's nice because you know how you have the thing down this. This is going to sound ridiculous, right? You know when you have the bit down the side that tells you how many stitches of each colour you have, right? Well, pattern permitting, I like to leave that open so that as I like stitch the stitches and mark them off, I can see the thing moving down. As the number gets smaller and smaller and smaller, you see it moving down the list until there are no stitches left. And I find that really satisfying for whatever reason. I'm doing this. See, I started this in 2018 when I didn't really know much about stitching. I still don't really know much about stitching, but I was on a little bit of a let's stitch all the things. And you can't really tell on there, but I'm doing 2/110 stitch on 20 count, which is not too bad actually. Sometimes like on the darker colours you can kind of see it a bit, like on the black you can sort of see through it. But on these, you can't see it at all. So yeah, I'm colour completing and doing 2/1 on 20 count, because obviously that's how people do their heads. And I know there's going to be people sitting just being like, why would you do that? Because it's my stitching and that's what I want to do. It wouldn't be my choice to do that. If I was doing that now, I would still do 10 stitch or half stitch or like whatever it's called these days, but I would probably do it on a smaller count fabric. But it's turning out to be not too bad a size. I would probably do it on like a 25 count, and I would definitely do like an easy grid next time, because the if you're on my Instagram at all, sorry, things popping up on my phone. If you're on my Instagram at all, then you might have seen in the last couple of days I've done far more stitches than I should have done, because even though I'm doing 200 a day, I had missed 2 days, so I was doing 600. Yeah, that's right. I had missed 2 days because of life, so I was doing 600 stitches that day, which was fine, and I had the time to do that, and it was all going well until I had to rip out 400 of those stitches, because apparently sitting stitching while I'm having my morning coffee is not a great idea, and what I should do instead is have the coffee first and then attempt to count. I'd made a mistake right at the beginning of like one of the blue sections, and all it was one stitch. There was like two rows of stitching, and on the top row it should have been 1 stitch longer, and I'd done the 2 rows the same size. But then that just ruined all of this bit here that I spent ages stitching, so I had to rip it all back out again. And I've got these things that are amazing. I love them. Doing white fabric, especially because I'm doing like it's a dark blue thread. I can't remember what thread number I'm on, but it's a dark blue thread. So when I had to frog it all on the white fabric, it was like a mess, as you can imagine. And then I just use it, and it's very satisfying. You can rub it, and then it picks up all the things, and it's got a little seam ripper inside. Look. Do you know as well? I was sewing. My gran taught me to sew when I was little, and I just did basic things like pillowcases and whatever. But it wasn't until I was an adult, like when I was a teenager, I used to make my own clothes and everything. And it wasn't until I was an adult I found out what this little red bit's for. Because my granny never taught me. The internet didn't exist. And even like when the internet did exist, by that time I was not really doing so much crafty stuff, because I was doing things that I shouldn't have been doing. And then I went on and I was having babies and things like that, so all my crafty stuff kind of took a back seat. And when I've picked up all this stuff again, it's a whole new world. It's like a whole new world. It's fantastic. I love it. And community as well. I don't know anybody else who does anything crafty at all. So it's so nice to be on the internet and have the opportunities of being able to see all these different people doing all these different things. And I love learning about other cultures as well, and seeing how the things that I do are done the same in other countries but a little bit different. I think it's fascinating. I love it. Anyway, I'm waffling. Right, so that was my head. Obviously I'm using all the called for colours. Yeah, I told you everything about that. So I'm just going to carry on with that. I do 200 stitches a day at least. Sometimes I do a little bit more. You know, you get into it and just like, I'll finish the thread or I'll finish the section, or like the other day on finishing the second colour, I had 400 and something stitches, so I just did the 400 and something stitches just to get the colour finished. So I'm hoping that doing that, like little bits here and there, will all add up, and it seems less overwhelming to say I'll do 200 stitches a day and then just do more when I feel like it. That's far less overwhelming than saying, oh, you have 1 billion stitches left and you must work on it until it's done, because that just makes me want to put it away. And I know this because that's what I've tried to do previously. I've tried to do monogamous stitching and I can't do it. I know some people can do it and some people love it, and you know, I'm happy for you that you can do that. I cannot do that. My squirrel brain does not allow it. Right. We have the 4 things that are now on the rotation. So the first thing, right, when I started stitching again, I didn't know about the bad things. So I'm just like online browsing on Amazon, and Amazon's like, oh, so you like cross stitch? Have one of these kits. And then I later find out that, you know, they're not quite legit. But at the time I didn't know, and now I have these kits, and I've bought stuff off eBay secondhand. I've bought, because you know, when you start a new craft, the first thing you do is you go on eBay and you buy massive bundles of things. So I've got a huge random collection of cross stitch. I have very, very eclectic taste in most things. So I have some like really, really modern cross stitch. I have some really, really old stuff. I have stuff that other people have started that I've then adopted. I've got traditional stuff. I've got stuff from horror movies. I've got gaming stuff. I'm a gamer, so you know, I've got quite a lot of gamer stuff. Oh yeah, I've just got everything. It's all over the place. So this is one of those things. This is a kit that I got off Amazon, and it's a printed kit, which I had never used before either. I didn't know they were a thing. This is the back of it. So that's how much I've actually done. It's very difficult to see on the front. But it's nice, easy stitching. If you've never used a printed kit before, it just comes with a key down. It's DMC threads. It comes with a key down the side with the it's got the number that correlates to the threads organizer. It's got the thing in the middle which correlates to what's on here, and then it's got the DMC number down the side on the off chance you run out of thread. But there's an absolute ton of thread came with it. The aid is actually quite nice. It's decent quality. It's not stiff. It's quite bendy. And I'm just starting from the bottom and working my way up. So going forward, I will not be buying any more things like this, but I will use the things that I already have because I've already bought them and I'm not going to throw them out. But I won't buy any more. So yeah, that's my little kit from Amazon. I'll still link it down below in case anybody else does want it, but I just want to explain myself because I know that it's generally frowned upon to buy things like this. But I didn't know that at the time. But I do now. So we can be better moving forward. The second thing on my rotation is along the same vein. This one, I'll put a picture up here. Oh, wait, actually, I might have, yes, I do. I have a picture. This one was a kit that I got off eBay. And I've had a look and I can't actually see this pattern anywhere else apart from just like Chinese knockoff places. So I don't know what the original pattern is for it. So if anybody knows what this is, if you could let me know so that moving forward I can also link the original pattern. Same for this one. If there's an original pattern for this, because I'm sure I've seen this somewhere before, but I also can't find this pattern. If you could let me know, and then I'll link the original artist down below as well. So this one is just a kit, some 14 count Ada. I have done 2 of the owls, and there'll be another one here and half a one here. So I'm just over halfway done. And yeah, it's 14 count grader using the kit threads, and that's going along quite nicely. So that's my second on my rotation. Third on my rotation is this. Now this is going to be quite big when it's done, because these tails come all the way down here. I'll put a picture up here. This is from Etsy. On Etsy, it is Cross Stitch Gold Art. They've got lots of Viking-esque patterns on there. They've got like other random patterns as well, but mostly they seem to be kind of this Viking style, which I'm very into. My kids are very into as well. We apparently have Viking Danish heritage, according to my mother, who did one of these, like, oh, what are they called? I don't know, an ancestry, I don't know, one of these things where you find your ancestors. And apparently we're descended from Danish Vikings, which explains a lot, actually. So, yep, got this one. I am using DMC. What colour is it? 424. I've got the DMC in my hand and I'm looking at my book to see the colour. Oh, my brain. 4245. And it is this really nice. Oh, is it showing up? Can you see like the purples and the blues? Oh yeah, you could see it on there. Now, this is the first time that I've ever used a variegated thread as well to do like a monochrome thing. This is my first monochrome piece. And this is the first time I'm using a variegated thread to do a large section, because mostly I've used DMC before, just like plain DMC, or I've used like kit threads and things like that. And doing one stitch at a time in order for the variegation to variegate is very, very time consuming, because normally I would stitch, like, do half a stitch along the row and then go back, which is much faster. Doing one stitch at a time seems to just take forever. I also, when I picked this up, this was my last week. This was the first time this came up in my rotation. And I ended up having to rip out this entire bird. And I remember the reason I put this away in the first place is because I had a mistake on it somewhere, because I'd got to round about this section and things just weren't lining up. Because when I printed the pattern out, it's on like 12 pages or something ridiculous. But it's so hard to see the pattern. I'll show you. Now, the pattern is like this, which doesn't seem like it. I tried putting it in Pattern Keeper, and Pattern Keeper's just like, nope. So it's like all these crosses, which you would think would be easy to count because they're big crosses, but because they're all joined and attached, can you see how that's going to be a bit funny on the eyes and make it just a little bit like, whoo? It's quite difficult. I find that I have to count the boxes above or below rather than count the actual stitches, because especially on a longer row, I'll get halfway across the row and then they just kind of blur together a little bit, and it's very, very difficult. Let's see, how many pages are there? There are, I can't get to the last page, 9, 10, 11, yeah, 12 pages. I mean, some of the pages have just got a little bit on them like that. And I know you're not supposed to show patterns, but good luck if you can get a pattern off that. So I've just gone over it with my my highlighter. But I ended up having to rip out put that back in there so I don't lose it. It's in my Slytherin bag. I'd got some Harry Potter fabric and I just made up lots of little bags. And I decided to keep that one because I was testing out the size and I was testing the poppers as well. And I made the poppers don't quite line up, so I kept that one for myself. I'm not a Slytherin, I'm a Ravenclaw. But I kept the Slytherin one anyway. Anyway, so, sorry, tangents. This bird here, I ended up having to rip out almost the entire bird. I think, you see where his beak kind of goes in a bit? I ripped it all out up until there. And about half of the centre bit, so all across here, had to get ripped out. That was a lot of stitches. Like a lot of stitches. And because I kind of guessed at how much thread that I would need, because I don't think it tells me in the pattern, because I guessed at how much thread I would need, I tried to rescue as much as possible, which meant frogging took even longer. This fabric's lovely though. It's 28 count, I think it is, even weave. And it's a kind of greyish, purplish kind of colour. It's really, really nice. It's thick, but it's soft. I don't know what it is. It just came, I got this on eBay and it just said 28 count even weave. But there we go. I wish I knew what it was though, because I would like to get more, because it's very, it frays though. Like, I've stitched the edges over, frays so badly. But it's nice to stitch on. I just hope that I've measured everything properly when I first did it, because this is another whip from a really long time ago. So I'm hoping that past me measured properly, so that, because when I put the picture up, you'll see it sort of comes down and then it's got the big bits at the bottom. So I'm hoping that past me had the sense to measure it so it will actually fit on the fabric, because after all the frogging and restitching I've had to do on it. So this was in my rotation last week and I spent most of that week frogging it and restitching the bits I'd already done. And then I did get a little bit of progress. So progress is progress. Even if it's one extra stitch, it is one extra stitch than I had before. And then it's all set up and ready for next month. Yeah, that's that one. And my last one, you'll be glad to know, because I have been waffling. Sorry. I do go off on tangents a little bit. My last one is this, which was a kit that I got from Hobbycraft. I don't know if you can get them anywhere else or if it is specifically for Hobbycraft. It doesn't say on here, but that's where I got it. This is the pattern in there. And it came as a pillow kit. I have taken the pillow stuff off it. So it's still on the Q-snap because this is like what's on the rotation for this week. When I picked it up, all that I had left to do was the T, the O, fill in Little Miss, and this little flower needs its petals, and then there's back stitching. See, there's back stitching around the sun and the flower around her, and there's a little flower down here. In fact, have I done that little flower? Okay, so I need to do I need to do this little flower as well. And I put up a thing. I don't know, did I put it on Reels or on TikTok? I can't remember, on one of them. About this pattern, because for the most part, this is a super easy pattern. It's on 14 count Aida. It's a lot of like block stitching. You know, this would be a great first project. It's block stitching. There's lots of separate bits where you can get a little sense of accomplishment for finishing a letter. You know, it's a really good first project. Bright colours, nice and cheerful. Except for the fact that Little Miss over here and the O, which is the sun, are all fractional stitches all around the edges. And they're not just like half stitches. There's half stitches, there's quarter stitches, there's 3/4 stitches, there's I don't even know what the arch stitch is. It's just like a section of the square that is not even a quarter or half or a 3/4. It's just somewhere in between. On Ada, of all things, I don't like to... I deliberately tend to avoid patterns that have either fractionals in them or a lot of backstitch. I have a very, very love-hate relationship with backstitch. I love how it makes a project look. Like, I love it. You have a project that needs backstitch on it, as soon as you put that backstitch on, it just makes it instantly amazing. I hate doing backstitch. I love the finished product. It always looks amazing. I do not have the patience to sit and do backstitch. It just drives me crazy. I can do black work. Like, I can sit and do black work, that's fine. But I put in backstitch... I can do black work, backstitch. Sorry, I'm getting my words very, very mixed up here. Black work is essentially doing backstitch. But I'm fine with that. Putting backstitch onto a pattern for some reason drives me crazy. But it looks beautiful and it makes the pattern pop. And it just looks so good. But I avoid patterns with lots of backstitch because I know that I'll do all the crosses and then it will sit there and wait on the backstitch forever. Which is no good at all. So this is what I'm currently stitching. And yeah, that's it. So the way that my rotation is working is I'm trying to swap out like for like. So once I'm finished with this one, which it shouldn't take me that long to finish it, because apart from the really annoying fractionals, it's not like a lot of counting and a lot of stitching. Like, I can just do the outline and then it's just filling. So it shouldn't really take too long to do these. And then the flowers are tiny. They're only... yeah, look. And the back stitch on this isn't too bad. It shouldn't take too long. Because it's only on the sun and on Little Miss. And then a little bit on the flowers. So the back stitch shouldn't take too long on this. And then I'll swap it out. I'll find something else off my whip list. I think this I'll probably switch out with... I've got a bothy kit, which I can't remember the name of it. It's a dragon. There's like a big tree and then there's a dragon in a castle, which is another one of my oldest whips. So I might get that back out after this one and I'll swap it for that. I'm trying to swap like for like. Once the bee's done, I have a printed Harlequin cross stitch. So I'll swap the bee for Harlequin once it's finished. The rest of them I'm not sure. My bedtime stitching I'm mostly going to be working through. I have lots and lots and lots of small projects on Etsy. So because I'm in my bed, I'll print them off and just do small projects in bed. I have lots of Haid patterns. I only have one that I've started. And that one's going to take me a while, so once it's done I'll just swap it out for another Haid. But it's going to be a while till that one's finished. And what else? Yeah, I just need to look through what I've got that's already started so that I can work through my whips. So the only thing when I'm having new starts is the Etsy patterns for bedtime. And everything else is me just working through my whips. Right. So I'll link everything down below. And I will be back next month. I'm going to try and aim for the first-ish of each month so that I can get a full rotation in all my whips so you can actually see some progress on them. Yeah, in the meantime, I'll have all my social things down below. I'm mostly on Instagram. I'm just starting off on TikTok because TikTok's kind of fun. Not really used it before, but I'm getting quite into it. So Instagram, TikTok, I have an Etsy shop, I have a Ko-fi, everything will be linked down below though. I plan on starting to make some patterns as well. I've been messing around with putting some of my artwork into pattern designers and seeing how that goes. So we may have some patterns at some point from me. And yeah, that's it, I think. So I'll be back next month. I have waffled on for 40 minutes. If you're still here, thank you. And I will see you next month, hopefully. Bye.